Welcome to our training video. In this video, you'll learn how to turn your tower pot framing system into a beautiful pot. You'll need a sheet of plywood or cement board. You'll need a 1" by 2" trim board. You'll need some adhesive, and you'll need some screws. You'll also need a 14" square pot. Beyond that, any additional costs will be dependent upon the finish you desire. Let's start with using a sheet of plywood as an example for making the 4 sides for your tower pot. A standard sheet of plywood is 4 feet by 8 feet. You should be able to get all 4 sides out of one sheet of plywood. We recommend 1/4" plywood. One of the great benefits of building your own tower pot is that you get to decide how tall you'd like your tower pot. We recommend a height between 30 to 40 inches. In this example, we've chosen a height of 36 inches. At this point, you would trim your sheet of plywood to that height. You should then cut the piece of plywood into 4 equal pieces, approximately 2 feet wide. In this example, we have 4 sheets that are 2 feet wide by 3 feet tall, or 36 inches. It's a good idea to draw out the sides on the sheets of plywood with a carpenter pencil to help you cut. Okay, let's get into some of the details. It's important to note that 2 of the sides should be cut slightly smaller than the other 2 sides. We'll refer to the smaller 2 panels as panels A. These 2 panels will have a top edge width of 15 1/8 inches and a bottom edge of 9 9/16 inches. The second 2 panels will be slightly larger. Their top edge will be 15 7/8 inches with a bottom edge of 10 5/16 inches. We'll call these 2 panels panels B. It's important to note you should keep the top and bottom edges parallel when you make your cuts, and make sure your angles on both sides of the panel are symmetrical. Now let's talk about using 1/4" cement board, which comes in a slightly smaller size than a sheet of plywood. Cement board, which is commonly used for tiling, comes in a standard 3 feet by 5 feet dimension. Because of its smaller size, you won't be able to cut the cement board into 4 equal pieces. You're going to have to get creative. You'll have to cut both panels A back to back and both panels B back to back. The dimensions will remain the same as described when using plywood. Be sure to keep your top and bottom edges parallel and keep your angles symmetrical. If using plywood, you can use a circular saw to cut out the panels. If using cement board, you can use the score and snap method to cut your panels. Once cut, you'll have 2 panels A and 2 panels B. To join and strengthen the corners of our tower pot, we're going to use 1 by 2 pine trim board along the edges of panels B. The placement of the trim boards is important. You'll want to place the trim boards approximately 1/4" inch from the edge. It should equal the thickness of whatever material you're using. Here we've traced it out so you can see the trim board setback. It's also important to note that the trim board should be approximately 2 inches shorter than the top and bottom edges of your panels. And here we see another example of the setback in a plywood material. Use screws to attach the trim boards to panels B. If you have one available, a nail gun works just as well. And as mentioned previously, leave the trim board approximately 2 inches shy from the top and bottom edges of the panel. You're finally there. This is where your tower pot really comes together. We're going to do a dry run to make sure everything fits. Lay out the pieces as shown, with panels A opposite side and panels B opposite side. Note that you'll be assembling the tower pot upside down. Also note how smaller panels A fit conveniently inside panels B, and how the offset trim allows for a clean join on the corners. Place the bottom, which once again is upside down, and make sure everything fits. For the final assembly, we're going to be following the same basic steps as the dry run. If you don't have access to a nailing gun and you're going to screw your pot together, it's recommended that you pre-drill 4 evenly spaced holes along the edge of the A panels. Having tested multiple adhesives, we recommend PL or Proline 8x Fast Grab adhesive. This adhesive is tacky, so it won't run, and it'll stick to virtually anything. Apply a 1/4 inch bead around the entire channel of both the upper and lower tower pot frames. Then apply a slightly smaller bead to all 4 edges of the B panels. Now it's time to reassemble the pot with all the adhesive applied. You're going to follow the same process as you did on the dry run. It might help if you have an extra person. Having help will stabilize the pot as it's assembled. Be sure to stay clear of the glue along the edges. If you're using screws, insert them into the pre-drilled holes mentioned previously and screw them tight. If you're using a nail gun, nail a 1/4 inch from the edge. While the adhesive cures, we recommend that you add 10 to 15 pounds of weight onto the top of the pot. In this case, we used a half-filled 5-gallon bucket of water. And finally, after waiting about 15 or 20 minutes, come back and clean up any excess glue. And now the time has come. After waiting 24 hours to allow the adhesive to dry, you can apply your desired finish. There's a multitude of finishes you can apply, whether it's a paint, a stain, a tile, a wood overlay, that's up to you. Get creative. There are virtually thousands of ways in which you could finish your pot, and we hope if you do, you'll share some of your ideas. Thank you for watching. We hope this video was helpful, and we hope to hear from you soon.